Anna Donovan gave up everything for a rusted airship, her career, her home, and all her savings. When she first laid eyes on it, the massive hulk seemed like a forgotten relic, an unsalvageable piece of history. But as she began to peel back its layers, what she uncovered aboard would lead her down a path she never imagined, a journey that would change her life forever. This wasn't just about restoring a forgotten vessel. It was about uncovering a legacy lost in time and a future that had yet to be written. Before we dive into Anna's incredible journey, let us know where you're watching from. And if stories like this inspire you, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow's episode will reveal even more shocking twists. Anna Donovan was no stranger to hard work. Growing up in the hum of her father's mechanic shop, she'd learned early that nothing in life came without sacrifice. Every wrench turned, every engine rebuilt, was a quiet battle against time, rust, and the inevitable decay of the world. But Anna wasn't interested in easy fixes or quick jobs. She was drawn to the projects others saw as impossible, the ones that sat at the edge of irrelevance, waiting for someone with enough faith to restore them. Her father's shop was a small, humble space nestled on the outskirts of town, with a single, aging lift and walls lined with tools that had seen better days. The customers were loyal but few, and the work was often mundane: oil changes, tire rotations, fixing the occasional broken radiator. But there were always whispers in the small town about the forgotten things, the relics gathering dust in corners, waiting to be discovered. For Anna, those forgotten things called to her in a way nothing else did. Her eyes would wander to the old rusted vehicles parked at the edge of town, the ones no one cared to restore, the ones the world had moved on from. Her dreams were filled with them, with the challenge of bringing them back to life, of restoring not just their function, but their soul. But it wasn't until the airship appeared that everything changed. It started as a strange, unexpected offer. A man from out of town with a lead she couldn't ignore. The moment she heard the words, "old airship," her heart leaped. She had seen it from afar once, a hulking figure in the distance, standing abandoned on a forgotten airfield. The thing was massive, its form nearly as wide as the horizon itself. At the time, it seemed like something out of a history book, an out-of-place artifact from a time when the skies had been conquered by vessels of steel and dreams. And now, it was hers for the taking. The man on the other end of the phone was vague, but the offer was too tempting to pass up. "If you've got $10,000 and a way to haul it, it's yours." An old military project, barely worth the scrap metal, but I know someone who thinks it might be worth a second look. Anna didn't even hesitate. $10,000 was everything she had. It was every penny she'd saved from years of working in the shop. But in that moment, she didn't care. This wasn't just another project. This was her chance to build something bigger than she had ever dreamed of. She sold off everything, her old truck, her tools, her savings, just to make it happen. The gamble was enormous, and the risk was terrifying. But Anna knew that the world was full of things people gave up on too soon. Maybe she could be the one to prove them wrong. A week later, she stood at the edge of that dilapidated airfield, staring up at the enormous, rusted skeleton of the airship. The frame was crumbling, the once gleaming propellers twisted and corroded. The hull was pocked with holes and patches, as if it had been a ship caught in the worst of the storm for decades. Anna's heart beat faster as she took in the sheer scale of it, the sheer audacity of the thing. She had no idea what had drawn her here, or why she believed she could make this work, but there was something about it, something about the way it stood there, broken, abandoned, and yet still powerful in its own quiet way. She could almost feel it speaking to her, urging her to see beyond the rust, beyond the rot, to the heart of what it had once been. Anna didn't know it yet, but this was the beginning of something far more than a restoration. This was a story that would change her forever. The first time Anna stepped aboard the airship, it felt like stepping into the past. The air was thick with the smell of old metal and stale air. The floorboards creaked under her boots, and the walls were lined with cracked windows that let in little light. But despite the dim, eerie quiet of the space, Anna felt something stir deep inside her. This was it, the heart of her dream. And yet, there was a strange heaviness to the place, a sense that something had been left undone, like a story frozen in time. She walked slowly down the narrow, rusted corridor that ran through the heart of the ship, her flashlight illuminating bits of debris that had long been left to gather dust. Her hands brushed along the exposed pipes and thick wires hanging from the ceiling, most of them frayed with age. But the further she walked, the more she realized this wasn't just a forgotten airship. It was a vessel of secrets. In the aft section, Anna found a hatch, barely visible beneath layers of grime. It was out of place, newer, more secure than the rest of the ship. The edges were sharp, and the hatch had been sealed tight, with a thick layer of what appeared to be industrial-grade sealant. Something about it seemed intentional, like it had been hidden away for a reason. Her curiosity got the best of her, and she began working at the hatch, scraping away the old sealant with a wrench she had grabbed from her bag. The metal beneath was smooth, almost pristine, a stark contrast to the surrounding corrosion. As the last bit of the sealant broke away, the hatch creaked open with a hiss, revealing a dark compartment inside. Anna's heartbeat quickened. Inside the compartment, there was something she hadn't expected. The airship's true purpose was hidden here. There, in the shadows, lay a set of blueprints, faded but legible, detailing something far beyond what she had imagined. Advanced propulsion systems, flight capabilities far beyond anything she had ever seen before. But more than that, there were handwritten notes, calculations in the margins, and sketches of mechanisms she couldn't even recognize. As Anna stared at the contents of the compartment, a shiver ran down her spine. This wasn't just a broken-down airship. This was a prototype, a forgotten creation from an era long past, its technology far too advanced for its time. It was clear now the airship hadn't just been abandoned. It had been hidden away, left for someone else to find. Her fingers traced the edges of the blueprints, and her eyes flicked over the handwritten notes. The words, though jumbled, seemed to carry a sense of urgency. Whoever had written them had known what the ship could become, had understood its potential, and also its danger. One of the notes stood out, written hastily at the bottom of the page. For the next dreamer, if you're here, it's too late. Don't open the final compartment. It's been sealed for a reason. Anna paused, her mind racing. What was in the final compartment? Why had it been sealed off so carefully? And who had gone through the trouble to leave her this warning? The weight of the ship's secret felt heavy now. It wasn't just a restoration project. It was a puzzle, a mystery wrapped in steel and time. And Anna, driven by an insatiable curiosity, knew one thing for certain. She wasn't going to walk away from it. Not now. Not when she was so close. She stood there in the dim light, the blueprints in her hands, the future of the airship and its secrets hanging in the balance. This wasn't just about restoring a forgotten relic. This was something much bigger, something that could change everything. And she was about to uncover just how far it would go. Anna sat on the cold metal floor of the airship, the weight of the blueprints and the warning letter in her hands. The soft hum of the wind through the ship's broken windows was the only sound, the ship's silence amplifying the urgency of the discovery. She hadn't meant to stay here all day. But now that she had found this hidden compartment, this new piece of the puzzle, she couldn't tear herself away. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded the letter that had come with the blueprints. The handwriting was old, the ink faded, but still legible enough for Anna to read each word carefully. The letter itself wasn't long, but it carried a gravity that felt like it might crush her. It was written in a hurried, almost frantic style, as though the writer had known their time was running out. The letter began, "To the next dreamer who finds this ship." Anna paused. Her breath caught in her chest. She wasn't just restoring a ship. She was part of a larger story. A story that had been waiting for her to uncover it. You've found what we could not finish. This airship was meant to carry more than just men. It was meant to carry the future. We knew we were building something special, but we did not know the cost. By the time we realized the danger, it was too late. The technology we put into this ship was never meant to be used by any one nation, any one group. It was too powerful, too dangerous. And now, It's your responsibility to decide what happens next. Anna felt a chill creep down her spine. The words were both a warning and an invitation. The letter continued. The final compartment is sealed for a reason. The engine, the propulsion system, the designs, it's all in there. But be warned, there is something in that compartment that can't be controlled. It has a will of its own, a history that no one should know, and a future that no one can predict. Anna's eyes widened as she read on, her pulse quickening. The letter spoke of a deep conspiracy, of something more powerful than she had ever imagined. Whoever had written this letter had known the risks, and yet they had chosen to leave this airship behind, waiting for someone to find it, waiting for Anna. If you're reading this, you've made it further than we ever did. Do not open the final compartment unless you are ready for the truth. It holds a part of our legacy, a part of history that is not meant to be uncovered. The letter ended abruptly, as if the writer had been forced to stop before they could finish their warning. Anna sat still for a long moment, her mind reeling from the implications of the letter. This airship wasn't just a forgotten relic. It wasn't just a piece of history. It was something much bigger, something dangerous. Anna thought about the warning, the final compartment. The words from the letter echoed in her mind. Do not open it unless you are ready for the truth. But that was the problem. She didn't feel ready. Not at all. And yet, she knew she couldn't turn back now. She'd come this far, uncovered so much. The truth was there, hidden in the final compartment, waiting for her to decide whether to open it or leave it sealed forever. But Anna wasn't the type to leave things unfinished. She never had been. The idea of leaving this mystery untouched gnawed at her, a feeling she couldn't shake. She folded the letter carefully, tucking it back into the pocket of her jacket. The airship creaked around her, the sound of its age, reminding her of the weight of the decision ahead. It was clear that what lay inside the final compartment could change everything, and maybe even the world. Anna stood up slowly, her resolve hardening. She wasn't going to walk away. Not now. She would uncover the secrets hidden in this ship, no matter what it took. It was her responsibility. She had already committed everything to this journey, and there was no turning back now. But the question lingered in her mind. What if she wasn't ready for the truth? What if it changed everything, not just for her, but for the world? She didn't have the answers, but one thing was certain: she was going to find out. The days blurred together as Anna threw herself into the task of restoring the airship. It was a job far bigger than anything she had ever taken on. Yet the more she worked, the more she felt drawn to it. Every part of the airship had a story, a history that was slowly being uncovered piece by piece. But there was something more, something Anna couldn't quite put her finger on. The ship felt alive, not just in the mechanical sense, but in the way it seemed to carry the weight of its forgotten legacy. The compartments she had opened yielded more secrets than Anna had anticipated. The blueprints and notes told a story of ambition, of groundbreaking technologies that had been ahead of their time, yet deeply flawed. The ship's original creators had been pioneers, driven by a dream to change the world, but somewhere along the way, something went terribly wrong. The records hinted at a catastrophic event, one that had led to the ship's abandonment. No one had been able to finish the mission, and in the end, the ship had been left to rust, its creators' hopes left unfulfilled. But it wasn't just the mechanical components that intrigued Anna. As she sifted through piles of old photographs, handwritten letters and sketches, a deeper story began to emerge. The airship had once been the pride of a select group of engineers, visionaries who had dedicated their lives to creating something that would revolutionize flight. But those dreams had come at a cost. Anna had found the photographs of the ship's original crew, young men and women standing proudly beside the airship in its early days, before the rust and decay had taken over. There was one photograph in particular that caught Anna's eye. A group of engineers, standing around a table covered in designs, their faces a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Among them was a woman, her face intense and determined. She was the only one not smiling. Anna could feel the weight of that woman's gaze, even through the yellowing photograph. Something about her presence felt familiar, like a ghost from the past, that had been waiting for Anna to find her. The letters Anna found told the same story. The engineers had been passionate, yes, but they were also human. Their families had been left behind, and their relationships had crumbled under the pressure of the project. The woman in the photograph, whose name was Sarah, had written about the constant struggles, about the sleepless nights, and the growing sense of isolation as the Airship project dragged on. But the letters also spoke of the excitement, the belief that they were on the brink of something monumental. Anna felt a deep connection to Sarah. There was a drive in her eyes that reminded Anna of herself, a determination to finish what was started, no matter the cost. It was a feeling Anna knew all too well. She wasn't just restoring a piece of history. She was carrying on a dream, one that had been abandoned long ago. The same dream that had led Sarah and the others to sacrifice everything. Late one night, as Anna sat alone in the airship's belly, the sound of her wrench echoing in the stillness, she found a final letter, this one, addressed directly to whoever would come after them, whoever would finish what they had started. It was in Sarah's handwriting, neat but hurried, as though written in the final days before the project was abandoned. To the one who finds this ship, know that you are not alone. We built this for a purpose far greater than ourselves, but the cost has been high. The secrets hidden within this ship are more than just engineering marvels. They are tied to our lives, our losses, and our futures. I leave this ship to you, not because I want you to finish what we began, but because I hope you'll understand why we failed. The truth about the Airship is not just in its mechanics, but in the history it carries. Be careful what you uncover. The letter ended there. The rest of the words faded by time. But Anna couldn't shake the feeling that Sarah had known something, that she had left behind a warning, a final message meant for Anna to find. The past had come to life, and Anna realized that this ship was more than just a relic of history. It was a vessel carrying the weight of lost dreams, of love and sacrifice, and the consequences of pushing too far. She wasn't just restoring the ship. She was resurrecting a piece of the past, one that could change the future. Anna closed the letter and tucked it carefully into her bag, feeling the weight of its message settle deep inside her. She wasn't just rebuilding the airship. She was uncovering a story that had been lost in time. And the deeper she went, the more she understood that what lay hidden in this ship was far more than she had bargained for. The days turned into weeks. As Anna continued her painstaking work on the airship, every inch of it seemed to tell a story, some part of her father's old mechanic shop, echoing through each turn of the wrench, every drop of oil she spilled onto the floor. The ship was a puzzle, every part locked in time, waiting for someone to piece it back together. But there was a weight to the work that went beyond the mechanical repairs. Each bolt she tightened felt like a promise to finish what had been started long before she had arrived. Despite the overwhelming nature of the task, Anna felt a strange calm. She'd always believed that the only way to find peace was through hard work, through dedication. It was why she had left everything behind: her steady job, her friends, her safety net. She had traded a life of comfort for a challenge no one else would touch. And in a way, it felt like fate. As the days passed, the ship slowly began to take shape. The hull was stripped of rust, the engines disassembled and cleaned. Anna couldn't help but marvel at the intricate design. The propulsion system alone was years ahead of anything she had ever worked with. She had to research tirelessly, pulling up schematics and reading through endless manuals, but each day she felt more connected to the ship. It was as if the airship itself was teaching her, pushing her to understand its secrets, to unlock the mysteries it held within. One afternoon, while she was deep inside the belly of the ship, crawling through the narrow passageways, Anna found something that made her pause. It wasn't another compartment or blueprint. It wasn't a piece of machinery. It was a small, rusted metal box tucked away in a hidden recess near the ship's tail section. It was sealed shut with what looked like a crude, homemade lock. Anna's heart raced as she carefully pried it open with a crowbar. Inside was a collection of photographs, all faded and yellowed with age. They were pictures of the airship's construction, but there was something else: people. In nearly every photo, a man appeared. He was tall, with dark hair and sharp features, always looking over the shoulder of the engineers, always in the background but never front and center. Anna had seen his face before, in the background of the group photos with Sarah and the rest of the crew. But there was one photograph that stood out. The man in the photo was standing with a woman, Sarah. They were standing by the airship, both of them smiling, their eyes full of pride. But it wasn't the image that made Anna pause. It was the inscription on the back, written in faint pencil. "Together, we will finish this, no matter the cost." The man in the photo was more than just a bystander. He was part of the team, part of the legacy. Anna turned the photo over in her hands, studying it. The weight of it hit her all at once. Sarah wasn't alone in this. She had had a partner, and whoever this man was, he had left behind something that had yet to be discovered. But as Anna stared at the photo, something tugged at the back of her mind. There was a reason the man was always in the background. A reason his face was almost a ghost in the photographs. He wasn't just a part of the airship's past. He was a key to understanding the ship's true purpose. The metal box, now empty except for the photos, felt heavier than ever. Anna sat still, absorbing the quiet moment, before the realization hit her. The journey she had embarked on was no longer just about restoring a forgotten ship. It was about uncovering the lost stories of the people who had built it, the ones who had sacrificed everything to see it come to life. And now, that journey was hers to finish. Anna stood up, dusting herself off, her mind racing. She knew that in order to truly complete the airship, she had to uncover more than just the mechanics. The real story was buried deep within the ship's history, locked away in forgotten corners and hidden messages, and she was determined to find it. But as she moved toward the main deck, the weight of the letter she had found earlier pressed heavily on her mind. The final compartment, the one that had been sealed for a reason. Anna knew she couldn't move forward without facing it. The truth that lay inside was waiting, and it was time to make the choice, to open the final compartment or leave the past undisturbed. Anna's mind was consumed with the airship, its secrets, and the mysteries she had yet to uncover. Every moment spent working on it only deepened her obsession. There were times when she'd be so focused, she didn't even notice the hours slipping by. But as the sun began to set on another long day, she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that she wasn't alone. The airship felt heavy with the weight of its past, its walls seeming to whisper when no one else was around. That evening, as Anna was tightening a bolt near the ship's tail, she heard the distant sound of footsteps on the gravel outside. At first, she dismissed it as the wind or the creak of the hangar settling, but the footsteps grew louder, closer. It wasn't until the door to the hangar creaked open that Anna's heart skipped a beat. She wiped her hands on her shirt and stood, dusting off her jeans. The last thing she expected was a visitor. Most people had written off the airship as nothing more than a lost cause, a relic of a forgotten time. But here, standing in the doorway, was an older man, with a weathered face and deep-set eyes that spoke of years spent working with metal and machines. He wore a faded leather jacket and work boots, his hands stained with oil, though not in the way Anna's were. "Evening," the man called, his voice rough but not unfriendly. Anna didn't speak right away. She sized him up, trying to place him, but he was a stranger. He stepped into the hangar slowly, his eyes scanning the massive ship in front of him, his gaze lingering longer on the airship's torn and rusted body. "You're the one restoring it?" he asked, his voice soft, but filled with curiosity. Anna nodded, crossing her arms, unsure of what to make of him. "I am. It's a project, something that's been waiting for someone to bring it back." The man studied her for a moment, then smiled, though there was something distant about the expression. "I see you've got your hands full." Anna couldn't quite read him, but there was something about the way he was looking at the airship, a familiarity, almost as if he had been here before, or knew something about it she didn't. Something deeper than the blueprints, something buried in the ship's past. "I know this ship," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I worked on it, back in the day." Anna felt a jolt of surprise. She stepped toward him, her curiosity piqued. "You worked on this ship? How?" "I was part of the team that built it," he interrupted, cutting her off with a nod toward the ship. It wasn't supposed to end like this. The project was supposed to change everything, but... He trailed off, as if searching for the right words. "Who are you?" Anna asked, her voice tight. "Why are you here?" The man hesitated before answering. "Name's Robert Quinn. I was one of the engineers. I worked with Sarah and the others." He said Sarah's name like it was a prayer, with reverence, as if she were still alive. "I was there when they started this ship, but I left before the end. Couldn't stay after everything fell apart. Some things you can't undo." Anna's chest tightened. She had seen the photographs, the ones with Sarah's face, but she hadn't seen anyone else from the crew. Robert Quinn's name hadn't come up in the records, and his sudden appearance felt unsettling. "You're the one who disappeared," Anna said slowly. "The one who left." Robert winced at the words, his face darkening. Not by choice. The project. It wasn't just a ship. It became something else. Something bigger than any of us could have controlled. The final compartment. It's where it all went wrong. Anna stepped closer. "What do you mean? What happened? Why did it fail?" He hesitated, his hands shifting nervously at his sides. "It wasn't just about building a better airship. We were working on something dangerous. The propulsion system? That wasn't the only thing we were designing. There was a whole new kind of technology buried in that ship. And when it was finished, something shifted. People started disappearing. Others tried to take control of the project. And Sarah." His voice trailed off, and Anna felt the tension in the air thicken. She could see the weight of his past in his eyes, the regret, the fear of what had been left behind. "Why are you telling me this now?" Anna asked, her voice steady despite the unease bubbling in her stomach. "What's in the final compartment?" Robert shook his head slowly. "You don't want to open it, Anna. Trust me. Some things are better left forgotten. You think you're just fixing a ship, but it's not just a ship. It's a Pandora's box. The truth inside could change everything." Anna's heart raced. "I have to know," she said quietly, the words leaving her before she could stop them. "I'm already in too deep. I can't walk away from this." Robert met her gaze, his eyes filled with a mix of sympathy and sorrow. "You're not ready. No one is." There was a long silence between them, the weight of his warning hanging heavy in the air. Finally, Robert let out a deep breath, as if resigning himself to something. "I can't stop you," he said quietly. "But know this, once you open that compartment, there's no going back. The ship won't just change your life. It will change the world." The days after Robert Quinn's visit felt like a blur. His warning echoed in Anna's mind, weighing her down like a heavy anchor. She couldn't stop thinking about the final compartment, the one that had been sealed off so carefully, the one that was linked to the airship's troubled history. She had always prided herself on being able to fix things, to restore the broken, the forgotten, and the lost. But Robert's words stuck with her. Some things were better left alone. Still, Anna couldn't shake the need to uncover the truth. Every hour spent working on the ship, every time she tightened a bolt or polished a rusted surface, she felt closer to the heart of the mystery. The airship was more than just a machine. It was a puzzle. And the final compartment was the last piece, the one that would make everything whole. But the closer she got, the more uneasy she felt. She had already uncovered so much. The blueprints, the photographs, Sarah's letter, Robert's confession, it was all leading her to this moment. The final compartment had to be opened. It was the key to everything, to understanding why this ship had been abandoned, to understanding the lives of those who had given everything to make it a reality. One evening, as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the hangar floor, Anna found herself standing in front of the sealed compartment. The door loomed in front of her, rusted and weathered, its edges sharp and untouched by time. Her breath caught in her throat as her fingers brushed against the cold metal. The sealant that had once kept it locked for so long was now gone, peeled away piece by piece over the past few weeks. The final barrier was down. Anna hesitated. For a moment she stood there, just breathing, taking it all in. This was it, the moment of truth, the moment that would change everything. She glanced at the tools around her, the wrenches, the screwdrivers, the hammers she had used to restore the ship's parts. And yet, none of them could prepare her for what lay inside this compartment. With a deep breath, Anna grabbed the handle and pulled. The door creaked open with a sound that sent a chill down her spine. The interior of the compartment was shrouded in darkness, the shadows hiding whatever secrets it held. Anna stepped inside, her flashlight illuminating the space before her. And there it was, the heart of the airship, the engine that had been the crown jewel of the project. But it was far more than just a machine. The propulsion system, as advanced as it was only part of it. The rest of the compartment was filled with strange equipment devices that looked nothing like anything Anna had ever seen. They were sleek, metallic, and covered with intricate designs. Some of them seemed to pulse with an energy she couldn't explain, as if they were alive, waiting to be activated. But what truly caught Anna's attention was the center of the compartment. A small, unassuming metal box sat there, covered in dust. It was unlike anything she had encountered on the ship. It had no labels, no markings, nothing to indicate its purpose. Yet, Anna knew, deep in her bones, that this box was the key to everything. It was the missing piece of the puzzle, the thing that had been hidden away for so long. Her hands shook as she reached for it. The moment her fingers brushed the box, she felt a jolt of electricity shoot through her body. It wasn't painful, but it was unmistakable. There was power here, an energy she couldn't comprehend. Anna took a step back, her mind racing. Should she open it? Should she risk everything to find out what was inside? The warnings, the strange equipment, the pulsing energy, it was all too much. She could hear Robert's voice in her mind, telling her to walk away, telling her that some things were better left undisturbed. But she couldn't stop. She was already too deep, and the truth was right there, just beyond the surface. She had to know what was inside the box. With trembling hands, Anna lifted the box. It felt heavier than it should have. And as she turned it over, a small button on the bottom caught her eye. It was faint, almost invisible, but it was there. The button seemed to pulse, as if it were waiting for her to press it. Anna hesitated. This was it, the point of no return. She pressed the button. For a moment, nothing happened. The ship was still, the air thick with anticipation. Then, suddenly, the compartment began to hum. The walls around her vibrated with a low, resonant sound, as if the entire ship was waking up. The strange equipment flickered to life, their lights pulsing in time with the hum. And then, the box opened. Inside, there was a single piece of technology, a glowing, intricate device that looked like nothing Anna had ever seen. It was small, but its design was breathtaking. It seemed to be made of materials that weren't of this world, pulsing with a light that seemed to change color depending on the angle of the light. Anna could feel its energy, its power, coursing through the air. As she stared at it, something clicked in her mind. This wasn't just advanced technology. This was something far more important. It wasn't just a machine. It was a key. A key to unlocking the true potential of the airship, and perhaps a key to changing the world. But Anna's excitement was tempered by a deep sense of dread. She had uncovered something far bigger than she had ever imagined. This wasn't just about restoring a forgotten ship. It was about unlocking a truth that could change everything. And now that the box had been opened, there was no turning back. The device in Anna's hands pulsed with an energy she could feel deep in her chest. The light emanating from it shifted, glowing softly, almost hypnotically, as though it was alive. Every instinct told her to put it down, to walk away, but she couldn't. It was too late. The ship was alive with possibilities now, and this strange artifact was the key to unlocking its true potential. Anna carefully set the device on the workbench in front of her. The air around her hummed, thick with anticipation, as though the very walls of the ship were holding their breath. She wasn't sure what she expected to happen next, but she certainly didn't expect the wall opposite her to crack open. The noise was quiet at first, just a subtle shift of the air around her, but it grew louder, a soft scraping, like metal grinding against metal. She turned, eyes wide, and saw a compartment emerging from the wall, just as the device's light flared brighter. The compartment was small, tucked away in the farthest corner of the ship. The same heavy metal that had sealed it off for so long now began to retract, revealing a hidden chamber behind it. Anna stood frozen for a moment, unsure whether to approach or run. This ship had already given her more than she could process, secrets she never imagined. But this felt like something else entirely. She cautiously walked toward the chamber, the device still glowing faintly on the workbench. As she stepped closer, she noticed something remarkable. It wasn't just a simple hidden compartment. The walls inside the chamber were lined with intricate carvings, each one telling a story, a history, one she hadn't seen before. The air inside the chamber felt different, charged, alive, almost like it was pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. It was as if the ship itself was trying to speak to her. Anna took a deep breath and stepped inside. The chamber was small, just enough space for her to turn around, and yet it felt infinite in the weight of its contents. In the center of the room was an old, weathered desk. The papers on it were brittle, but not disintegrated. Anna gingerly approached, and her hand brushed against the surface of the desk, sending a shiver up her spine. The room had an ancient feeling to it, as though it had been untouched for a century. The desk was covered in handwritten notes, some faded and nearly illegible, others clearer than Anna could have hoped. As she sifted through them, she found diagrams, notes about propulsion systems far beyond current technology, and sketches that seemed almost otherworldly. But it wasn't just technical data. One page in particular caught her eye. It was a map that didn't belong to Earth. Anna's fingers trembled as she traced the lines on the paper. It depicted a world that looked similar to her own, but with marked differences. Places that didn't exist, landscapes that were unfamiliar, and a trail that led toward the airship's true purpose. On the back of the map was a single note, hastily scrawled in the same handwriting as the letter she had found earlier. The truth lies beyond the sky. The airship was never meant for the Earth. Its mission is to open the doors of the impossible. A chill ran down Anna's spine. The truth was more than she had ever imagined. This wasn't just a military project. It wasn't just a machine designed to advance aviation. The airship was a key to something far larger, something that transcended anything she could have prepared for. She pulled her hands away from the map, her head spinning. The device on the workbench seemed to respond to her thoughts, its light flickering in a way that almost felt like it was trying to communicate. Anna's heart raced. She had uncovered something far greater than she had expected. This ship, the crew, the technology, the mysterious device, it was all part of something that reached beyond the stars, something that had been hidden away for far too long. But there was still more that she hadn't uncovered yet, more that she wasn't ready for. Anna felt a deep, primal pull. She knew what she had to do next. It wasn't just about fixing the airship anymore. It wasn't about finishing the work of the people who had started it. The ship had a purpose, one that was beyond her understanding, and it was now her responsibility to finish what they had started. The truth was out there, hidden in the stars, and Anna knew she was the one who had to find it. She glanced back at the device, its glowing light more intense now, like a beacon calling her forward. The path ahead wasn't clear, but one thing was certain: the journey was just beginning. Anna hadn't slept in days. The urgency of the airship's mysteries had consumed her, pushing aside all sense of time. Every moment, she spent deciphering the plans, studying the hidden chamber, and piecing together the fragments of the past, only deepened her resolve. She had to finish what had been started. The truth was within reach, but so was something darker, something far more dangerous than she had anticipated. It was late one night when the airship's engines suddenly powered up. The deep hum reverberated through the hangar, vibrating the walls. Anna froze. She had never activated the propulsion system. In fact, she had been careful not to touch it until she fully understood what it was capable of. But now, as the hum grew louder, she realized something else. Someone else had touched it. Her breath caught in her throat as she grabbed the flashlight and rushed to the control room. The lights flickered on as she entered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. And there, standing before the ship's console, was a figure she hadn't seen in weeks, Robert Quinn. His back was to her, his hands hovering over the controls, his face obscured by the dim light. "Robert!" Anna called, her voice sharp with a mix of frustration and fear. "What are you doing?" He turned slowly, his eyes hollow, as though he had been lost in thought for far too long. "It's time," he said simply, his voice strained. "You don't understand what you've unlocked, Anna. This ship, it's not just a relic. It's a weapon. It was never meant for anyone to finish." Anna's pulse quickened. She took a step forward, determined to get answers. "I've been trying to understand. The maps, the designs, they all lead to this. The truth is here, Robert. I'm not walking away from it." Robert's face twisted into a grimace, and he stepped closer, his gaze intense. "You think you're the first one to uncover the ship's secrets? You think you're the first one to think this could change the world? This was never meant for Earth. It was built to travel to places we can't even begin to imagine, and once it's activated, once it finds its course, there's no going back." "Then why come back?" Anna asked, her voice shaking but resolute. "Why warn me now? If you knew what this ship was capable of, why leave it behind?" "I didn't leave it behind." Robert spat, his hands clenching into fists. "I tried to stop it. I walked away because I couldn't stop it. But you're different. You've opened the door to something no one was ever meant to see, and now, it's too late." Anna's eyes narrowed. "Too late for what?" Robert took a deep breath, and finally answered, his voice hollow with regret. "Too late to control it. Too late to stop what we started." The airship's hum grew louder, filling the room with a growing sense of foreboding. Anna could feel the ship coming to life, but it wasn't just the machinery. There was something more, something pulling them in, drawing them toward a destiny neither of them had fully grasped. "Robert, you're scaring me," Anna whispered, stepping back as the airship began to shake. "You should be scared," Robert replied softly. "This is only the beginning." Without warning, the lights flickered, and the hum turned into a roar. Anna turned toward the console, eyes wide with shock, as the ship seemed to tremble in anticipation. The device she had discovered the key to everything began to glow brighter than before, its light now swirling in a kaleidoscope of colors. The room spun, and Anna could feel the energy building, radiating from the ship's core. Something was happening, something she didn't fully understand. The ship was awakening, responding to the device and the energy it had unlocked. "Stop it, Robert!" Anna shouted, her voice cracking with urgency. "This isn't what we signed up for." But Robert was already moving, his hand reaching toward a lever that would activate the ship's final sequence. "It's already done," he said, his voice resigned. "This is bigger than both of us now." Just as his hand touched the lever, the airship shook violently, the walls of the hangar rattling as if they were about to collapse. A blinding light exploded from the ship's core, and Anna felt herself being pulled toward it, as though the ship itself was calling her. In that instant, everything changed. Anna's heart raced as the world around her shifted, the hangar fading into nothingness and the airship's immense power pulling them into the unknown. Robert's eyes locked with hers for one final moment, filled with regret and fear, before he was swallowed by the light. And then, silence. The silence was deafening. Anna's mind swirled, still trying to process what had just happened. The ship, the glowing device, the overwhelming energy, it was all too much. She stood frozen, the hum of the airship's power still vibrating through her chest, though now it felt distant, as if it were coming from another world entirely. For what seemed like an eternity, Anna simply stood there in the center of the now quiet hangar, her breath shallow, her heart pounding. The light from the ship had dissipated, leaving only the afterglow in her eyes. The world outside the hangar felt far away now, almost unreachable. The airship had changed everything. It wasn't just a forgotten relic. It was a doorway to something beyond, a path to the unknown. Anna shook her head, trying to steady her racing thoughts. What had Robert meant when he said it was too late to stop it? What had they unlocked, and what did it mean for her, for the world? As the dust settled around her, She slowly walked back toward the console. The room was still, but the energy that had filled it moments ago hung in the air like a faint vibration. Anna's hand hovered over the controls. The ship had come to life in a way she hadn't expected, but it wasn't just a machine responding to a command. It had a will of its own, a purpose far greater than she had imagined. She looked at the map again, the one Sarah had left behind. The journey was not over. The destination had shifted, yes, but it was still there, still waiting. The truth was still out there, and she knew she couldn't walk away now. The ship had chosen her. Its secrets, its power, it was all hers to uncover. And in that moment, Anna understood. She wasn't just finishing a project. She wasn't just restoring a forgotten dream. This was her legacy, now. This ship, this crew, the technology they had left behind it, was all part of something much bigger. She was part of it. As the airship's systems began to hum back to life, Anna made her choice. She wasn't afraid anymore. She had come this far, and she was ready to take the next step. She couldn't go back to the life she had before. She had found her purpose in the airship, in the legacy of Sarah and the crew, in the unknown future that lay ahead. She reached for the lever, just as Robert had tried to. But this time, it wasn't out of desperation. It was out of hope, out of belief. She pulled the lever with steady hands, the hum of the ship growing louder once more, filling her with a sense of power and possibility. The airship's engines roared to life, its massive body trembling with energy. The hangar doors slowly began to open, revealing the vast sky beyond. The world outside was no longer a distant thought. It was her future, and it was waiting for her. The airship lifted off the ground, soaring higher and higher, the earth shrinking beneath her. Anna looked out through the massive windows, her heart swelling with a mix of excitement and awe. The stars were closer now, and the journey ahead was endless. She didn't know where it would lead, what she would find, or what dangers might lie in wait. But for the first time in her life, she felt truly alive, truly free. And as the airship climbed higher into the sky, Anna whispered to herself, "We're just getting started. The end? Or is it only the beginning?"